Here we are on the runway. Our pitch trim has been set, our weather radar is set, we're on TARA, and our transponder squawk code has been set. Engine mode selectors are in the normal position. Our flaps are set to config 1, the speed brakes are armed, and we will switch the parking brake off. V2 is magenta, V1 is green. On the ECAM status, all green, no blue. Auto brakes are set to max. All our exterior lights are on. We're going to do a PAX off takeoff, so we'll switch the PAX to off. And we don't need any anti-ice today. Spool the engines gently up to 50%, and once they're even, we can put the throttle on toga, then push the side stick slightly forward and keep it pushed forward till about 80 k's, and then release it to the midpoint by 100 k's. At V rotate, pull back gently on the stick so that you move the nose up at about 2 degrees per second, up to 15 or 17 degrees. And once we reach acceleration height, we'll let the nose drift back to about 10 degrees. Once the nose is dropped, we'll speed up, and at about 210 knots in the Airbus, you'll retract the flaps and disarm the speed brakes. Switch the PAX back on and turn off the takeoff and taxi lights. The landing lights we'll do at about 10,000 feet. So we've set our altimeter to standard. Now we're monitoring the ND and the PFD to make sure that all is good, and we're climbing nicely and our speed is going up. Air traffic has just told us that our new cruise level is 28,000 feet, so let's set that. We've also been told that there's a localized thunderstorm and that we need to change our star. We'll still be doing an ILS landing on runway 6. So let's go to flight plan, hit FAOR, arrival, and we're still going to do an ILS on 6. We choose the Z unless we're given another one, and our new star is Dunza 1A. So let's insert that, and it's as easy as that to change your route. Because we still don't have vertical navigation, in which case the FMC would fly our descent and our speeds, we have to calculate that. So let's go to the progress page and we'll type in Dunza, and we'll put that into there, and we can see that we're 249 nautical miles away. We need to get from 28,000 feet to 5,100 feet. That means we have to drop 23,000 feet, so 23 times 3 is 69 nautical miles, plus 10 is 79 nautical miles. We must start our descent at least 79 nautical miles from Dunza. On the RadNav page, I don't need the JSV VOR anymore. I'm going to put in the TGV VOR, which is in Durban, and it will aid my situational awareness. Let's get the latest weather in Durban. So MacDo menu, ATSU, AOC, and weather request. Okay, so we will send that off to our company and wait for the METAR. In a few minutes it will arrive and we can actually go and print that. So let's push print. We can collect the printout and put it conveniently onto our pedestal. Let's put the ND into plan mode and just check that there's nothing funny going on with our route. Now that we have the Durban METAR, let's go to the perf page and scroll through to the third page. Climb, descent, approach. We want the approach page and we need to fill that in to tell the Airbus how we're going to descend. Here we need the QNH, the temperature on the ground, the wind, the transition altitude, and our minimums. Our minimums today is 854 Barrow, which is about 200 feet above the runway height. We will leave config full landing, which is flaps 4 landing. Once that page is done, we can start our descent. It's a little bit early, but we can always adjust it along the way. So let's select our altitude at Dunza and just do an open descent. I'm going to let the autopilot manage our vertical speed. We could set the vertical speed, but then we'd have to monitor our speed ourselves. And a good descending speed is about 270 knots. Although indicated airspeed doesn't show up until below 25,000 feet. So here we are descending towards Dunza, and I'm going to monitor our altitude against the MSA and the maps that I have, and I'm going to try and arrive at Dunza at 5,100 feet. So here we are at Dunza at 5,100 feet. LNAV will take the corner for me, I don't have to do anything, and I've left it on managed speed. The aircraft automatically reduced to below 250 knots at 10,000 feet, and we are now well below 250 knots. You can see that I'm still 49 nautical miles from the TGV VOR, which is at Durban, so I've got plenty of time to get down and stabilize the aircraft and stabilize speed. There's a natural deceleration zone marked by the purple ring where the managed speed will slow the aircraft down further. You can see that I'm below green dot speed, so I can go to flaps 1. You can see that I've got the localizer button on and the landing system, and as we get down towards S speed, I'll be looking to go to flaps 2. "13 nautical miles out, I'm happy with my speed and my altitude, and once I get to platform height of 3,000 feet, I will push the approach button and arm the vertical navigation aspect of the ILS. As I reach F speed, I can now go into flaps 3. I'm still a little far, 10.4 nautical miles. So gear down, I normally like to have the gear down by 6 nautical miles. You can see that I'm bang on the localizer, but the vertical navigation is activated. You can see glide scope is in blue, and as this little pink diamond reaches my height, that should turn green, which means it is activated. So everything's looking good, my speed is good, I'm on the glide scope, and certainly before 2,000 feet and at about 6 nautical miles away, I want to be fully configured. Flaps 4 and gears down. As I approach 2,500 above the ground, you will see the radar altimeter
2,500.
So 6 miles out, let's go flaps 4, arm the speed brakes and put the gear down. Our aim is at 1,000 feet. We need to have these little pink diamonds not more than 1 notch away. We need to be within 10 knots of our VAP speed, and if we can see the pappies, they should be at worst 3 reds or 3 whites.
1,000.
Somewhere between 1,000 feet and 500 feet above the ground, I will switch off the autopilot and not even touch the stick unless there's wind which is blowing me off course.
$100 above.
That means 100 above minimums, and I have the runway in sight, so all is good.
Minimum.
I'm not yet touching the stick. I've got my hand on the throttle in case we need to do a go around, and I'm just letting the airplane fly itself down to the runway. The pappies are now in view, 2 whites, 2 reds, so that's good. As we get closer to the runway, the pappies become less reliable. Let's stop the video here and just summarize what we have in mind when we're landing. So we need to be established and configured at 1,000 feet. We need to maintain our VAP speed and vertical speed. At 50 feet, be alert and start focusing on the end of the runway. At 30 feet, pull back 2 to 3 degrees and maintain, just flare a little, and simultaneously throttle to idle. Then hold the nose up until the wheels come down onto the runway.
$500, $400, $300, $200.
VAP speed bang on 132. Pappies are good. Vertical speed is also good.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
Okay, I'm not going to win any competitions for that landing, but let the auto brake slow you down to about below 80 knots, and then you can use the foot brakes and look for the taxi turn off. Usually if you know where you're going, you'll just taxi back to the gate now, and the first officer will do all the procedures that are needed to be done, and you will just concentrate on driving. And as a single pilot, you should stop, and you should stop once you are past this stop bar that you see in front of us now, because if any part of your aircraft is not past that bar, then no other aircraft are allowed to land or take off. So immediately we come onto the taxiway. We don't want to blind anybody, so put strobes to auto, which will turn them off. Beacons will stay on. The wings are optional. If it's low visibility, leave them on. Nav and logo stays on. Runway turn off stays on, and we turn the blinding landing lights off. We will leave the taxi lights in the taxi position, and we'll switch those off just as we get to the gate so we don't blind the ground staff there. We have quite a short taxi, so we'll turn the APU on now. On the pedestal, flaps to 0. There are some exceptions. If the engine mode selector wasn't in normal, put it there. Turn off the weather radar and disarm the spoilers. Let's turn TARA to standby. If the outside temperature was above 30 degrees, we would leave the flaps on, flaps 1, because the heat can interfere with some of the sensors. If we hit a bird or there was lots of ice on the wings, we would leave the flaps on, flaps 4. As we come into the gate, we would switch off both of the nose wheel lights because we don't want to blind the ground staff. As we come to a stop at the parking bay, we put the parking brake on. We cut both engines, and once they're below 10%, we can turn the beacon light off, which signals ground crew that they can approach. We'll turn off the seatbelt signs, and we'll switch all 6 fuel pumps off. And in South Africa, which follows Europe, we'll put the transponder to 2000 on standby. So now we're in the turnaround state. We can refuel, load our passengers, and re-enter all the information and start our second leg back to Johannesburg. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.